My father then came over in that fashion. In the meantime, in the state that's below or south of the state of Chihuahua, the state of Durango, in the city of Durango, my mother was born. And she went through the same experiences with the family, actually sadder and more tragic, I'll tell you in a second. But then she wound up joining that stream, winding up in Juarez, and crossing over when no one was looking. My mother was as illegal as can be till the day she died. She paid someone $2 to carry her piggyback across the Rio Grande River. Yep. Now, the reason she was forced to do that, if you will, is because my mother was born into a very abusive situation, a very abusive father. Till the day she died, she had no recollection of a mother. But she remembers a very abusive father, and she remembers having 2 brothers and a sister, older, and she remembers families frequently coming home to save the kids from being abused by the father. And the neighbors would take them in, sometimes for a day or 2, sometimes a week, sometimes it would go into months and what have you, which, by the way, is very common in poor parts, villages of Mexico. We have this concept of called recoger, which is translation to something like being taken in. So my mother was la recogieron los vecinos, the neighbors who took her in, and so she wound up staying with some neighbors for a few days, sometimes for a few weeks, months, etc. And then the neighbors had a hard time surviving with this additional mouth to feed. The father was good for nothing, okay? So the neighbors started struggling with different families that she would stay with, and sure enough, she wound up with one family that decided to try to find a better way of life somewhere. She started heading towards the big cities and eventually to ours and cross over, like I told you how she crossed over. Even after I went to law school and became an attorney, I never was able to fix my mother's papers and get her legalized, because the different families that would take her in would give her their last name. So my mother wound up with several different last names and also did not know when she was born. Did not know when she was born. She had no birth certificate. She just had the recollection that I just tell you she had. And you have no idea how many times while she was still alive, I went to Durango trying to find some documentation for her to make her legal. But I had no papers whatsoever. And they would have me, well, when was she born? I don't know. I can tell you more or less in the space of 5, 10 years. I don't know. And the only evidence I had was that she always would list some date of birth, some year of birth on our birth certificates. But if you put them all together, and there were a total of 9 different birth certificates, the numbers did not jive, did not make any sense. So all we had was a range of more or less when she was born. She knew her father's name. Oh, she knew his name. But it was a very common name. The last name was Guerra. Very common. Guerra translates to war. Guerra is a chief. So about as common as Gonzalez, Martinez, Gutierrez, and so forth, okay? She knew that. She knew her brother's name, her sister's name. But then she wound up being taken away by all these neighbors and families, and other neighbors and families took the other children. And after my mother wound up here and married my father, she never got to see her siblings again. She heard that at one time there had been some attempt for her siblings to make contact with her in El Paso, but the family that she was living with at that time did not give her the letter because they were using her as a maid and they didn't want to lose the maid services. So they didn't tell her. It was not until years later that we found out had been that attempt to make contact. And I'm still trying to make contact. I have plans to go to Durango one last time this summer. I'll be taking my older sister with me, trying to see if we can find